Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now it is with great regret that I have got rid of my PlayStation 4. I know you're probably thinking, well, who cares, this is a PC gaming channel, but to me, I love that console. The exclusives like Uncharted, The Last of Us were absolutely fantastic, but I just didn't play it. And I thought, what's the use of it sitting around under the bed gathering dust when someone else could be enjoying it? If I ever get the urge to play Uncharted in the future, I may treat myself to a PS4 again, maybe a PS4 Pro if I'm feeling particularly self-indulgent, but yeah, it just wasn't getting played and I decided the time was right to get rid of it. When I first listed it about a month ago on various sites, I received no interest whatsoever. No one wanted it. I priced it at about £150 with Uncharted 4 and one DualShock controller, which I thought was fairly reasonable considering, you know, they are often for sale at anywhere between £120 and £200. You can buy a brand new PS4 for £200 here in the UK, so maybe my price was a bit close to that of a new console. And after weeks of trying to sell the thing, I decided to take a slightly different approach. Many a time online I've seen people offering swaps for their games consoles, PC parts, whatever it is. Some people ask for swaps instead of cash. I see this most commonly with phones. For example, if someone's got an iPhone X or a 10 or whatever you want to call it, they might say, I've got an iPhone but I'd like to swap it for the latest Galaxy as I can't get on with this iPhone. You know, it happens all the time. I see it on Facebook, Gumtree, Spock, sites like that. And I'm sure that many people take others up on these sort of offers. So I thought, why don't I do this with my PlayStation? I've got nothing to lose and it may be worth seeing what offers I get. After about 2 or 3 weeks of leaving this online with the new offer of a swap, I received approximately, hang on, where's that bit of paper? Here we go. 0 messages. That's right, I couldn't get rid of my PlayStation 4 even if I left it open for people to offer me things for it. So I decided to take it to other sellers. Instead of waiting for people to come to me, I decided to go to them instead. Now my primary targets here were people who were looking to sell their PC components because they wanted to get back into console gaming. Now this is quite a rare thing, but occasionally you might come across an advert whereby the person writes, hello, I'm looking to sell my graphics card or processor because I want the funds to go towards a new Xbox One X. Something like that. It does happen, but not very often. Now in this case, I didn't really care. I was just offering people this PlayStation in exchange for other things they had online. And I eventually ended up at Gumtree, where I got in contact with a man called Terry. Now Terry was selling a Ryzen 3 processor and an RX 570 graphics card. He was selling these because he wanted to get back into console gaming, and I thought, right, this is my chance, this is my shot, take it. So I messaged Terry the other day and I said the following, hello, would you like a PlayStation 4 in exchange for your computer parts? He was open to it completely. He said, does it come with a controller? And after that message, me and Terry hit it off like a couple of old school chums. Chums. I sent my PlayStation 4 to him, he sent his PC parts to me, and we are now both proud new owners of brand new or second-hand hardware. And today I want to showcase what I actually got from my new friend Terry. So I'm not just doing this to say, hey, look what I got in exchange for my PlayStation 4, but I wanted to do this because if you're a console gamer, you have a console, you want to get into PC gaming, there's more than one way to go about it. You don't have to rely on the sale of said console in order to be able to afford new PC parts. Swapping is also a feasible option. It could be a little more risky if you live long distance and you have to post items to each other like me and Terry did, but if you live local and you find someone who wants to swap, then it could be a way to get into PC gaming without actually spending any money at all. When you're on a tight budget or a tighter budget, all options are worth considering, and I strongly believe that this could be one of them, providing the other person is trustworthy and, you know, they've got something that's roughly equal in value to what you're offering. Anyway, let's get into it, and I want to talk to you about the components I got, what condition they were in when I received them, and I want to test out this hardware to see whether or not these two components can game in 2019, because whilst they are both a few years old now. It's always interesting to see how it stacks up in modern scenarios. So the package arrived pretty quickly. I hope Terry got my PlayStation today as well. We both used Parcelfuls 24. You can see that the Ryzen 3 was originally a warehouse deals buy. This means that it was already used when Terry bought it, so I'm probably the third owner here. That's fine, and this stock cooler actually remains unused with the original thermal paste. The 1300X does run quite warm. The RX 570 on the other hand looks pretty much brand new. There wasn't much dust on this thing at all, and all of the little connection protectors at the end of the card were still in place. I do like the look of this XFX card with the red fans. This is the 4GB model, so it probably won't do as well as the 8GB model, especially when you turn those texture settings right up high, but it is still a very nice card in 2019 if you're looking for something not too expensive, but something that can handle itself at reasonable settings and frame rates all the same. So it's a good start, but perhaps if we had a PlayStation 4 Pro, we would have been able to swap it for an entire PC. Nonetheless, I've put together this little rig here to showcase the 1300X and the 570 working simultaneously together, and I've paired them both with a B450M HDV motherboard, as well as a Thermaltake RGB 500W smart PSU and a 1TB SSD to improve those loading times, as well as give us plenty of storage for our games. So what can this pairing do? Well, it's time to find out. Now what I will say is that I did notice the Ryzen 3 1300X can struggle in some CPU intensive games. It has 4 cores and 4 threads, so it's no surprise that in some of the more intensive AAA stuff it may cause a few stutters here and there. That's just where we are at this point in time. When it comes to modern gaming, it can be very demanding indeed, especially on hardware such as this, though I think the Ryzen 3 series is still a good choice for those of you on a tighter budget, don't get me wrong. The same can be said for the 570. It will max out at 100% usage on occasion, and it will sometimes hold the Ryzen 3 CPU back, such is the case with Rage 2 as you saw on screen just now. That goes for the Outer Worlds as well, a brand new game that I absolutely love. I've had a lot of fun playing this. I've started again here on PC. I didn't want to give anything away, but it runs fairly well on this combination of hardware. I was thinking to myself, if it runs better than it does on the PlayStation 4, and that goes for all of these games, then I'd consider it a successful swap, even when you do think about the fact that you have to buy all of the other parts as well. It all depends on what you manage to swap for what. Where you'll start to notice a problem is in games like Kingdom Come Deliverance. That CPU issue I was mentioning earlier, well, that's pretty noticeable here. The CPU usage will ramp up to 100%, you will get a few stutters, and the frame rate will hover around 40 to 50 FPS a lot of the time, which is fine, but it's not that smooth because there are quite a few drops. Now this can be easily managed by dropping the settings down to medium, but I stuck to high across the board here initially just to get a brief idea of what this thing can do. I've never used the 1300X before, not from what I can remember anyway, but I think the 570 4GB edition may have been featured previously. In most cases at 1080p, if you turn the settings down to say medium or high, then you should have a pretty good time in all titles. It's just those CPU intensive games whereby you may start to see the processor struggling. But think of it like this: once you're on a platform such as AM4, you have a fantastic upgrade path ahead of you. Even if you can't afford to do so right now, it at least paves the way for you to upgrade in the future. And say in a few months' time, if you wanted to then slap a Ryzen 5 or Ryzen 7 in that system, you could probably do so. As we approach the last of the gameplay tests here, and therefore the end of the video, I just had to throw up Battlefield 5 because this is an absolute CPU hog. You can see here that the explosions that are covering most of the screen have a pretty detrimental effect on the frame rate, with both the processor and the graphics card struggling quite a bit, but it's nothing, again, just like in Kingdom Come Deliverance, that can't be remedied with slightly lower settings. Medium with a mixture of high is probably your best bet here. All in all though, well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a little bit different. I find myself saying that quite often these days, but if you did like it, leave a like on it down below. Leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had any experiences with swapping your hardware with someone else, how that went for you. And hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.